Nixon Omondi is our guest this hour. He is the manager in charge of Digital Economy Tax Office at the Kenya Revenue Authority. Had those ones? Digital Economy Tax Office.
Everything sounds good until the word tax comes in.
And KRA.
KRA now, that's not, KRA is an entity.
Yeah.
Not just an entity, a scary entity.
Authority.
Yes. So when someone says KRA, you say, okay. You can't hear KRA and just sort of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't think rainbows and bunnies.
No. You sit up when you hear KRA.
Attention! About 2 days or so ago, the Kenya Revenue Authority was in the news. And I'll read an excerpt from one of the stories. This one was in the Business Daily. The Kenya Revenue Authority's plans to start trawling Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and other social media platforms to catch tax dodgers and cheats have elicited mixed reactions. While some Kenyans see this as an infringement of privacy, others have dismissed it as an exercise in futility because people post fake, glamorous lifestyles. But the deployment of social media in the fight against tax evasion is already registered success in developed countries. The goal is to identify discrepancies between a citizen's declared revenue and the lifestyle that they share on social media. Okay? So, when KRA started saying, you know what, we are monitoring the things that you are posting and the boasting that you're posting on social media. And we are also now looking back at the data that you've shared with us, and we will be trying to see whether 1 + 1 is equals 2. And if it is not is equals 2, circle, see me in the headmaster's office. Now, yesterday, KRA released a statement that said, there's a rise in the number of taxpayers who are rushing to verify their tax compliance status this week. The rise is attributed to reports from KRA Commissioner General Gethi Mboro, published this week, that the authority is using technology for tax compliance surveillance. The reports detail that the taxman is monitoring social media as well as looking out for individuals who share their affluent lifestyle but are not among the 6 million taxpayers. The Deputy Commissioner in charge of Marketing and Communications, Grace Wandera, released a statement yesterday and was quoted saying KRA is using technology that includes social media monitoring tools, explaining that the adoption of technology to complement traditional revenue collection is geared at enhancing compliance efforts to ensure taxpayers file returns and pay correct taxes. Now, with that, let's welcome our guest, the boss man himself. Mkubwa, how are you?
Thank you. But not Mkubwa.
Yeah, Mkubwa.
Yes.
You know what we've done with Dixon this morning? We have offered him, we laid out for him a breakfast. Tea, bread, samosa, sausage, boiled egg. What else was there? Some bacon.
Tea.
And as he was taking it, he didn't know. We took photos. We are posting them on social media. Let us see if the authority is going to come and check. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Eric.
It's good to have you in the room.
Sure. Pleasure to be here.
Yes.
Yes.
So let's first understand. When the authority says, okay, we are also increasing our surveillance to go into the social media platforms, what exactly does that mean?
You know, Eric, there's something in tax we call verification and collating information from whatever sources together with what somebody has declared. Basically what happens, and it's traditional, in the olden days, there was something we used to call private and personal expenditure. For example, you've declared so much as your tax, but we want to see the kind of life that you live. Does it support the tax that you declared? So what is coming in is not any different from what has been done before. The only thing it's being done on the digital space. Ordinarily, if a company ABC declares what taxes they have, they are paid or they're supposed to pay, we always go and do a compliance check, or we can do an audit just to find out this tax you paid, is it the fair share? Is it the correct amount you ought to have paid? And for us to do that, we check records. We want to check bank accounts. We want to check purchase invoices. We want to check sales invoices. We want to check employees. Was pay as you earn deducted as required? And sometimes you even interview the employees. You ask them, are you paid this much? You know, so it's not any different from what is now happening. And in a bid to expand the tax base and also to ensure that everybody pays their fair share, what we are saying, we are not denying the Kenyans opportunity to enjoy their life. Okay, so if you offered me bacon and all that, all the pleasantries, I won't be worried, because the taxman will just come to confirm, is that true? Because as you said in the newspaper article, there are people who also live fake lives. So we cannot impute that the fake life amounts to tax. We'll need to dig deeper, and KRA does that to get the factual position.
Dixon,
It amounts to fraud.
in as much as you said that things have not changed, it doesn't make it any less uncomfortable for anybody who is going to be the victim of this. I'm trying to. The victim of this
Surveillance.
investigation, because you've said it quite calmly,
Yes.
but the words are actually quite far-reaching in terms of what you essentially then as KRA are doing to individuals.
Bandu.
Going into, we want to know, we want to check, we want to confirm, we want to make sure that you're actually telling us the truth. It just seems quite uncomfortable.
Invasive?
And now, invasive. And so now this is what people are feeling, that you really want to be within the corridors of my life because you're interested in getting the money as KRA. That's what it looks like.
But KRA doesn't post those things.
No.
things?
I'm not asking about what's being posted. I'm asking about the manner in which they're going about doing what they're doing.
Yes, but when somebody has informed you they're going to do it, you see, I would have an issue if they're doing it,
Behind my back.
yes, secretly, suddenly I'm hit with this. But they've told you, this is what they're going to do. Okay, they've told you. So it's not as though they're even coming to shock you in the middle of that to surprise you. You've been told, this is how we are going to go about it. I understand the issue of privacy, but I am usually very quick to see the ominous nature of revenue collection.
The
But
question I'm
here,
asking,
yes,
which I'm looking to be answered,
Yes.
is the manner in which you go about this. Do you not see how it can make now folks uncomfortable? Because for me, it's not a matter of should KRA collect or not collect tax. That's not even the issue here. But to foster an environment where you have more people on board, because if anything, it makes people want to go further into their holes and not declare.
But I want to agree with what City is saying.
I wouldn't expect
We've given you the information that of course KRA's role is to collect taxes amongst other roles, and we always try to give our taxpayers information beforehand that this is in the offing. Can you just plan yourselves 1, 2, 3 in a better way so that you pay your rightful share. And you see the article by our DC, Deputy Commissioner, saying a number of people are now coming forward just to check this lifestyle I'm living. Does it mean, something else to the
Are they
taxman?
doing that because they want to
But-
know, because they are afraid?
What do you think?
Maybe it might be both.
I actually don't even understand. So
Yes.
you're saying that there has been a serious and drastic uptick of the services of KRA, of coming to check
True.
your compliance.
Has been very good.
Why would somebody be coming to check their compliance? Is it because they're wondering, okay,
in line?
yeah, does it mean that just because I posted yesterday something, now I've been flagged by KRA? Maybe that's what people are just checking. It's coming from the point of
I
fear.
don't think it's really flagged.
Yeah.
It's because taxes are, even if KRA is trying to simplify the tax system and the government as a whole, there's those other technicalities that still abound in tax.
Yeah.
So you might have earned a salary, for example, but you're not sure whether the employer remitted or not.
Yes.
Yes. So what do? The best port of call, come to KRA and confirm. Has my pay been remitted up to date? Okay. And if it's not been, then we can take remedial actions towards that to ensure that the employer is compliant, or we get into agreement on how their taxes will be paid. And I want to answer Ndu again on that when we do profiling, you cannot be surveilling the 40 plus million Kenyans or the 50 plus million Kenyans on how they go about their lifestyles. It will be counterproductive. It won't even be optimal. So what happens is we do risk analysis. Okay, check whom do you think you can query, and the law doesn't allow us to do it behind your back. We will tell you, we have your return showing this. We will wish you come forward. We confirm whether this is what you are exactly supposed to pay. And of course, as you come to confirm, we can be asking you questions. Where do you bank? Where do you live? Sort of questions that we feel you'll be comfortable with. And of course, we try to do with a lot of human face.
Sure,
Yes, we
right.
try.
You are doing really
Human
well.
face in a digital
Until
platform.
you said that, Dixon, you were
You
starting
were
to.
doing okay.
Yeah, you were doing all
Nixon,
right.
explain this to me. Yeah? The process. So you're the manager in charge of the Digital Economy Tax Office.
Yes,
so
yes.
basically, this whole thing is under you, in terms of how you're conducting the surveillance on digital and how you establish then that this one, let's have a further conversation with them. So what exactly are you looking for? Is it that you now come to Eric Latif Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you see the kind of stuff that I've been posting, saying, here I am on holiday, this is my home.
Here is
this
the feast I'm about to indulge
yeah.
in.
And then what do you do with that information? So what is this surveillance? I mean, how is this surveillance then? How do you conduct it?
I started by saying even traditionally we do that.
Okay.
Even with corporate bodies, like Standard Group. Yes, we pick your bank account. We might check withholding taxes that has been done by someone, and we have bits and pieces of information.
Yeah.
But we cannot use that information until we bring it to your attention.
Okay.
That, Eric, we have this, and this. Can you confirm whether it's factual? And then we can tell you, give us such a document to demonstrate that what we see here is just heresy. What we see here is not what you actually do. And if it doesn't merit, then we don't proceed with such cases.
Okay.
Yes.
Now that is corporate. Now take
Even
take me now step by step on social media.
Yes.
Persons sharing their lifestyle. So what are you looking for? What happens next? What would
Yes.
you be calling somebody to ask?
There are people who post, for example, properties. Okay. We will want to ask you if you are the rightful owner of the properties. We might ask you, Eric, can you give us the LR numbers, or these properties actually don't exist? So if you have the LR numbers, then we can get into, are you paying tax on rent if you're receiving? Or if you're a developer of properties, are you paying corporate or income tax on those properties? That is the kind of, questioning that we do.
Okay.
Yes, we just probe. It's sometimes it's difficult just to have somebody's social media page, postings and raise tax and tell the person come and pay. I don't think that will even be procedural.
I like what you said about the details that you follow in trying to determine whether the correct taxes are paid.
Yes.
Now, it kicked off a certain thought in my mind. So, when you have a situation where somebody perhaps has paid more than they ought to pay,
Yes,
because that happens.
it happens.
Not every day, but it happens.
Not a lot.
It does.
Yes.
Okay. Now, how is it that one doesn't hear of how that money is returned?
We do. Actually, we do a lot of refunds. A lot.
Okay.
And that answers partly what Eric asked. Why are Kenyans coming forward? Because sometimes you might have a refund and you're not aware. When you come to our offices, we show you this is your ledger, because, you can also view your ledger from your iTax page. Yes, but if you are not satisfied, because all of us are not accountants who understand debits and credits, you can come to our office and then we take you through and you realize, so it means I've overpaid my taxes. Then you apply for your refund.
And how long does it take before the refund actually gets into your space?
Currently, according to the law, it should be 90 days. Yes.
By law,
90 days.
within
By
90
law.
days,
By law.
you should receive your
Yes,
your
you should get
due
your
refund. Now, what Ndu is asking basically is, look, and I'm going with that question. when this revelation was made that, we are also extending, and we've been doing this, but we are extending our surveillance onto social media platforms. It's basically saying we are conducting a lifestyle audit, or we're just checking does your lifestyle correspond with the information that you share with us? That is bound to raise some concerns to people. There are those who, yes, I have a house, yes, I live in a big house, I pay rent, or I live in a small house, but I spend a lot of my life in social establishments, and I post, not necessarily because I am drinking by the bottle, but just because my colleagues at the table are drinking by the bottle. And then you get concerned, like, now, is KRA now going to start attaching and following me up all the way? That raises some jitters. Don't you think that is merited, that concern?
I know lifestyle audit isn't usually very comfortable with the most of people, a lot of people. We don't conduct lifestyle audit per se, because we'll not be asking you a lot of other private issues. We want to stick to tax matters. Okay. We want to check if you showed maybe, for example, you traveled. Okay, or you are frequent flyer,
yes,
as they call it, just
chartered
to support.
flights.
Yes, just support. What is the source of revenue, and was that source probably taxed? And if it's from your salary, what else? It was chargeable to pay as you earn, and you file your return. That becomes the end of the story. So I think some of the people who feel a bit rattled. To us, we feel there are people who have not filed their proper returns. But because if you've been doing your rightful, duty, and or you are not sure and you come forward and you check, so I'm compliant, then why worry?
Therein lies the problem. Huh? There's the assumption that people are comfortable with the returns and they even know how to go about making those returns. There are very many people educated, understand they need to pay their taxes, and taxes are deducted, but those details they are not conversant with. True. I had to get one of my colleagues who's an accountant to walk me through this iTax, because I went to the site as was prescribed. Every time I went there, I was more confused than when I began. Every time I was always a simple thing. I said, "There's nothing simple about this thing." So my colleague walked me
through. From logging in.
That logging in takes you to another site.
It's an exam. 79 minus 55. What do you mean?
It's not an exam. It's like you were told that you're sitting for a geography exam and all the questions are in maths. Now you're thinking, okay, so was this the maths exam or was this the geography exam? All I'm saying is, it may be simple to the people who set it up because then they understand it.
True.
But to the consumer, it is now simpler. But I went through a process and I had to be tutored by my colleague who, like, the taxman told me, this thing is quite simple. I said, no, okay. Let me share in that simplicity. Why am I saying this? If somebody hasn't filed their tax returns, first of all, and they know they should, they'll be afraid of penalties and many other things. True. So fear compounded by ignorance is what perhaps KRA should consider dealing with, so that other people tell them, look, if you haven't filed, stop worrying about that. You come and let us see what we can do from where you are and we move forward.
True.
Okay? But so long as they're thinking there'll be a penalty, they will then make up in their own minds what else they think is going to happen.
From what they've heard.
Yes, from what they've heard. So they will not come forward. They will now seek not to even bother whatsoever.
You're very right, City. Because even us as taxmen, we had to be trained on how to use that system by the developers. What KRA has done is during the filing season, we usually have a lot of offices. Of course, they are jammed because Kenyans are last minuters. People who are dedicated to guide you on how to file your return. Two, we also have a user guide. Might not be serving so many, but it serves a very good purpose, where you are shown step by step. How do you file your return? From this logging in to what next, what do you put? Even in addition to that, you can still call our customer care contact and they will. We do a lot of trainings. I can't say it's enough, but we are doing a lot just to educate our Kenyans on filing. I remember before COVID, every Tuesday, first Tuesday or second Tuesday of the month, we used to have a session for new taxpayers at Times Tower, just to guide them on step by step how to file their returns. What we will do is we will identify new taxpayers on the obligations they have chosen. So we call you, we tell you, we want to take you through pay as you earn. We want to take you through VAT. We want to take you through your income tax return. And we will demonstrate this is what you do, this is how you do it. It might not be 100%, but we are making that effort to ensure that Kenyans also understand how to go about the tax procedures.
Let's take a break. It's 29 minutes after 7. With us in the studio is Nixon Omondi, KRA Manager for Digital Economy Tax Office. We are talking about the surveillance by KRA on social media and all, whether you are complying with tax obligations that you have. Yesterday, the KRA released a statement and said in the last week, they have seen a serious jump in the number of people who are logging onto the platform and seeking to understand their tax compliance status. And this they attribute to the fact that they have said, we are also monitoring and increasing our surveillance onto social media platforms. So, in fact, even thanking Kenyans on Twitter and Kenyans on social media by saying, yes, you have helped increase awareness about KRA's work. Now, some people may be wondering, okay, is this increased awareness or is it spreading fear? And that's why we have Nixon with us in the studio today, so we can break down between those. Is it fear? Is it awareness? Are you coming after us or are you walking the journey with us? 7:30, we'll be back shortly. Good morning. We are talking about surveillance by KRA on social media. Nixon, even as we're taking this break, we want to put it to you that there are very many people who saw the announcement by KRA and fear set in. Because I've been living my life. I've been, the majority of the people on social media are youthful people. Many of the people on social media are people who are maybe in informal employment. So if there's something that you're doing, you earn your little income, you decide how you want to balance out your life. And then also you decide, okay, rudishia mwili shukrani. Do something and you post it. You share on social media. Maybe sometimes you even took very many photos during one weekend and you've been sharing them over the next quarter. Now, this is sending a wrong impression to the KRA maybe, and they're thinking that this is the kind of life that I live throughout the quarter. And the fear is, truthfully, I haven't been filing much in terms of tax. I've been filing nil tax returns because how much income have I had? How much really have I had to say that I can pay a tax? So all those things. Now there's a lot of fear on, is KRA coming to disrupt my life and my lifestyle? The kind of struggle that I go through on a daily basis to earn this little that I earn and to live the life that I'm trying to live. Is KRA now coming also to disrupt that?
See, Eric, part of our problems generally, not just with KRA, but a lot of government issues, is lack of knowing. I don't want to use the word ignorance. KRA offices are always open. And you can actually walk in and ask that I receive gifts, for example. Yes, I'm a student and my dad gives me money. Okay, and I party. I take photos. Is it even taxable? Yeah. And then we'll just tell you, no, that is not an income which is subject to tax. And that rests the story. So you will go about your life knowing your tax issues. But if you don't come forward, how will you know? Okay, if you don't engage KRA.
What if you just told me from the very beginning without me having to ask the question? You can already preempt my question. Why don't you, when you're releasing this information, why not just say, okay, so if, for example, you are being sponsored by your parent or guardian to live the life that you're living, fine, you don't have any tax obligation. If you have this and the other, you don't have...
that will be, sometimes it becomes very difficult if you have a list of exclusions, because we agree that tax is not that very simple. Okay, and it will be very difficult to prescribe. We cannot. It might not be, very very productive to tell people this is this and this, the do's and don'ts. That's why we keep on asking Kenyans whenever we invite, our good taxpayers to attend sessions, just to understand a bit of tax. Then they should take up such opportunities. And again, why don't you just even write? You can write to the taxman and ask, even if you do it anonymously, that I do this and that, can you guide me on my tax issues? Then you rest easy, knowing that your tax issues are taken care of. But you see, if you are ignorant and you don't want to come forward, then fear sets in. But as you said, I agree with you. KRA wants to walk with you the journey. We don't want to come after you. And that's why we keep saying, if Kenyans can take a proactive role, as we also take our, our positions in also trying to train and sensitize our taxpayers on their obligations, then I think we'll be able to walk the journey together.
The burden lies on you as KRA to collect taxes.
True.
Right? And we've heard this for the longest time, that the plan or the hope is to widen the tax base, right? Bring in more from the informal sector, make sure that everybody is tax compliant in the country. So the burden lies on you. Now, look at a situation whereby people previously have had a certain image of the Revenue Authority and have said that actions by KRA have been punitive in nature, even as you're trying to get me to be part of this tax base. The approach in which that KRA has then becomes absolutely fundamental in whether this tax base will be widened. So communication becomes one of those things, and constant communication at that. The assumption that everybody who is already living under a veil of fear will then come knocking on your door and say, this is what I do on a normal basis, could you please advise me, is an assumption that I think perhaps needs to be looked at. Assuming that Kenyans will come, and I think that's what I'm saying, I think the approach, as you're saying, needs to be proactive. It must be proactive on the side of KRA, because you're the ones who are looking to widen this base, right? Which in my opinion is necessary to do. It is absolutely necessary to do. Have more people contributing, right? Yes. Absolutely necessary. But the approach that you use is vital, and it is what is going to determine whether people come or they hide.
I agree with you, though. You know, I said we try a lot to do sensitizations. That is our proactive role. I don't know how many Kenyans have even cared to look at our website.
I'm telling you, they're afraid. They're not even going to look at the website.
It is rich in documents.
The website might scratch you.
No, it won't. It won't. But then there are a lot of documents in our website. And given that we are talking about people who are, operating in the digital sphere, whether you're a social media influencer or you are just on TikTok or Facebook and all that, I think getting into our website should not be hard to do.
Even as you're saying that, I just remember something funny that I saw. Let me just give you. Yeah. Do you know how many videos have then been produced since this thing came out of people now who are showing videos of them being afraid, clips that they've now produced to show that the fear that they're actually feeling that KRA might come for them? What do you want? Even the things that I'm wearing, I can give you. If that is your problem. I can give them to you. Do you see?
True.
It has already
been
created.
What we're discussing here
Yeah.
is a fundamental issue of relationships.
True.
So everything else, whether you sensitize, whether you try to reach out and the relationship is bad, you will not get good results.
True.
Let me ask you, of the percentage of possible taxpayers, how many, according to your books, actually pay tax?
It's very low. It's very low.
Is it? Are you allowed to mention the percentage?
Not now.
Okay, fine. No,
but it's been improving. That is, it's been commendable.
But just let me ask generally. It's slightly above 50%, slightly below 50%. Just generally speaking.
Slightly below 50%.
Now, I am not a tax expert. I'm just a simple Kenyan who understands things simply. Is it not possible for this whole tax system to be relooked at again so that you find a way in which you can net that entire percentage of people who should actually pay tax? How do you do this? You make the tax something that people can say, okay, they're taking here, but they're giving me here. They're taking, but they're giving me here. The unfortunate thing with our tax system, the thinking of the common mwananchi, I am one of those common mwananchi, is that you just keep taking. And just when I'm about to take a breather, you want to take more. So I'm feeling, when am I ever going to get a break? See, there's a country called Estonia. Most people don't even know it. We had the president of Estonia in this, that very same chair you're sitting on. They were voted by the Tax Foundation 2020 as the country with the best tax regime in the world.
Okay.
But if you look at it, it's because of the relationship they have with their citizens and how they manage their citizens. They have a tax system, but you can see how it flexes and it looks at the needs that the people have. We seem to focus on just collecting money, and yet, should we not focus on why are we not getting a larger percentage? If we got everybody paying and we reduce the amounts we keep seeking, which is the balance, would we still end up getting more? Meaning, if I'm supposed to collect tax from 100 people, but only, let's say, 50 pay, okay? What would I need to do to get at least 90 to pay so that I get more than what the 50 are paying? Because the more people who pay, the more the news goes out that, this thing is, the fewer who pay, the more you get the feeling that these fellows aren't really people you can trust with these things. So that's why I brought it down to relationships.
True. I agree with you, Muga. Even as we all acknowledge, we are striving to reach there. In the recent past, a lot has happened.
Yes,
One, even the way we handle our taxpayers, we can appreciate. Of course, there are those elements that are not still very okay, but the elements we acknowledge have really improved. And then number two, if you look at our laws, the VAT Act that was there before 2013 was a bit very restrictive.
A bit.
Yes, and that's why we had to modernize it to take into consideration the current happenings. And we're also in the process through our National Treasury to modernize the Income Tax Act, make it simpler and responsive to the current happenings. That said, if you look at the procedures that are available within KRA now, you can come forward and say, I don't have money today, but I want to pay over 2 years. I want to pay over 1 year. And we'll give you an opportunity to pay installments. And that has gone a long way in assisting us to collect tax. We even have now a regime known as voluntary tax disclosure. We are telling you, we know you didn't declare taxes between 2015 and 2020. Come forward, declare, pay the principal, no penalties, no interest. So those initiatives, we've seen how productive they have been. They've been assisting not just to collect tax, but also to enhance the relationship. Because people start feeling, these guys have a human face. It's no longer the stone face that we used to see. So yes, Muga, we are trying to do a lot. Part of it also rests with other government bodies. Because KRA, we don't make the policies and collect. Another body needs to make the policies. Our mandate is to collect, but we can always give an input into the policy making
based on the situation on the ground. I guess it's on that issue of the voluntary tax. Is it voluntary tax
disclosure program,
right?
Yes.
Where a question here that has been sent to me: ask the tax guy, for people who have never filed before, can they commence filing without fear?
Very true. Please file. And when you file your return for the first time, nobody will even ask you. Nobody will ask you, why didn't you file? We'll quickly pick up your return.
How about the penalties and interest for the previous years?
You-
I have been registered under this obligation for the last 5 years, but I've never filed.
Now, there are two scenarios. The first one, if it's between 2015 and 2020, you file, pay by, if there's any tax, please try and pay it by December. You get 100% waiver of the penalties and interest. If it's outside that period, or there's no tax to pay, because you can also file an ill return, you can always come forward and ask for waiver of penalties and interest. Yes, just come and say, I couldn't file because of 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yes, it's available.
I didn't know that I had this obligation. I just basically did not know. There are many people who don't know the kind of obligations that they have.
I agree.
All those that we say, you have an obligation for VAT,
Yes.
for pay as you earn, for income tax. People don't know.
You come forward, file your return, we'll give you a waiver. Yes, because that is one of the the mechanisms to net people into the tax bracket.
You know how every time we get to around June, there's all this blitz about what ought to be done. Don't wait for that time. Start before December and all that. Come to us. Just say, come to us with the problems you have.
True.
The moment you say filling the form, already you've actually created a wall.
True.
Form means I have to declare. And then I think of what I haven't declared, a whole myriad of things. Just say, come, let's see how we can resolve the issue.
True.
And let people come. Let the word go out that, when you go there, they actually help you resolve the issue.
Yes.
Yes, they didn't throw me into a cell and told me to think of the 10 worst sins I've committed before they let me out. No.
Yes.
And after a while, people realize people actually will come. Yes.
For those who may be sitting in their closets right now, I mean, it's interesting because we had a couple of comments previously. Young people who are starting out a business, they're on social media because clearly it has a lot of leverage for them. And then there is this shadow of the taxman hanging over them. What would you say to them right now, the way that they're feeling? Because you may not know the situation on the ground, Nixon, but there is a lot of fear right now.
There is.
Especially amongst people who started out a business and they've seen it's profitable. They're using social media as an avenue to communicate things like this. What would you say to them right now with the way that they are really feeling? We're not just talking about sensationalism here. This is actually how they're feeling and saying, okay, the very little that I've been able to do, KRA wants to come for it. What would you say to them?
KRA, allow me to relate KRA to a doctor. If you are feeling otherwise and you don't go to a doctor, and so that your vitals are taken, how will you know what is ailing you? Okay, I know KRA has a role to know that Eric has not filed or has not paid, but it might be difficult to do it for all Kenyans. So if you remain in your closet, then you keep on living with that guilt. You do your business in fear. Why don't you just come out and talk to us? Our doors are always open.
Nixon,
Yes.
the role that KRA plays cannot be understated, even overstated.
Yes.
And you do an excellent job. We have one of the best revenue authorities on this continent, if not the best. We know all this. But so long as the relationship with your citizens is not what it ought to be,
Yes.
then everything that you're thinking that you're building on, you're actually not building on anything, you're building on sand.
Yeah, true.
It has to be something that is sustainable. Ask yourself as a simple citizen, if someone told you, look at the police, the work the police, we look at the wrong the police do. There's a lot of good that they do, without which we wouldn't be able to get on with their lives as we do. But if someone will tell you today that if you have this matter, you need to go and report to the police station, will you immediately think of going to report to the police station?
No.
Precisely. It's the last place you want to go to. Why? Because of reputation.
Reputation.
And with that reputation, it blocks and obliterates any good that may have come to you through that same service. So in the same way, relationships become fundamental. All these things that we're talking about are all good and well. Why do you think, for instance, the citizens of this country have such a high turnover of the legislators? 75%. Why? Why? It's for the same reason. Relationships. Yes. You elect someone so that they can lie to you for 5 years. KRA don't lie, but they're scary. Relationships will reduce that scary nature that KRA has.
True. And we're building on that.
Quite some work you've done, actually.
Yes, actually, there are people who come to offices, and if you hear their comments after, so it was this simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And we believe those are now the gospel spreaders.
The kilojoules that guy burnt up even as they were walking to Times Town.
Yeah, it is fears you get in, but when you get
When you
out,
come out and you're like,
what was I fearing at the
Yeah,
end of the day?
nothing much.
Yeah, so we just ask people to come forward. So
Tell
we
us
have a
about
conversation.
this digital economy tax office. I
Yes.
mean, a lot of the work now being done and the focus will be on digital platforms, the digital economy.
Yeah.
There was the whole issue about the digital services tax
tax,
and its implementation. There's been the conversation with the OECD about having a harmonized tax regime across the globe.
Yes.
And Kenya is among those countries that have decided we are not signing this yet, right?
True.
We are not getting onto this. Why don't we want to get into that international agreement yet?
Okay, Eric, I think the whole world appreciates that taxation also needs to move digital. when KRA government, let me say the Kenyan government, came up with digital service tax as part of the tax on the digital sphere. And then in July, we moved out residents because they're already paying other taxes, similar taxes. So currently it's only on non-residents.
Okay.
That is the digital service tax. The discussion with OECD.
These are like who?
Yes.
Which
The major tech companies that we are aware of.
Google, Facebook,
Yes.
and such, Amazon.
Yes, they are complying.
Okay.
That's a good thing. The global discussion started in earnest last year. Of course, there's been a lot of discussions from 2015, but now taking shape in 2020. And if you look at those discussions, they are very technical, and they require us even to remove our own DST. What Kenya and similar countries like Nigeria also has not entered into that framework. What we said is we need to confirm what is best for Kenya. Remember, once you get into it, you're not going to walk into and out of it as to will. And we're also balancing with our sovereignty. So as it is now, our national treasury, because it's the CS who will finally have a say on the same, the treasury is reviewing what is it for Kenya. Is it beneficial or not? And then he will make that decision. But of course, we are also assisting in the process as part of the policy making organs and tax collection.
Okay.
Yes. So it's a decision that I'm sure soon Kenyans will hear about.
We'll get to hear about it.
Yes.
So just for clarification purposes, there was a revision on who is liable for digital services tax.
Yes.
And this is companies that are not resident in Kenya.
True.
So people who are doing online business in Kenya,
Yes.
they're registered in Kenya, can continue operating their business. Their taxes are paid in other ways.
Very true.
This is income tax,
VAT,
and the
yes,
rest.
yes.
How about those that are not paying income tax?
And they're here.
Yeah, I mean, I operate my small business. I call it Latif,
True.
whatever. And I'm
Page
selling
by
shoes and
M-Pesa,
and I'm paying. Yeah.
Latif, this is what we've said. If you're not sure what you should be doing, just come and have a conversation, even with me. Yes.
But can you
And without being victimized.
Okay.
Yes. It's on a non-prejudice basis. That's one. Number two, for those who have not filed for the last 3, 4, 5 years, the voluntary tax disclosure is there for them. So take it up before the end of December so that you get 100% waiver of penalties and interest.
Can I ask you, though,
Yes.
for somebody who is running a business like that online, selling things here and there, what are they required to pay?
If
To
you,
you?
Yes, if you're running a platform, for example,
Yeah.
and people put on ads and you get some money, for VAT, if your threshold meets 5 million, if you meet 5 million turnover, what you sell in
Per
a
year.
year, then you need to register for VAT.
Okay.
If you're not, then you don't.
Okay.
And if you're not registered, what it means, you are not going to charge your customers VAT.
Yes.
Okay, but sometimes customers might say, no, I'm registered for VAT. I want you to register as well. So you
Yes.
might end up registering, not because of the threshold, but because of your clientele. In addition, you need to take care of income tax, and income tax comes in 2 ways. One is turnover tax. If your turnover is below 50 million, then what you need to do is to pay 1% of what you have earned per month, and that's final. You will not pay any other income tax. But if it's more than 50 million, then you need to do accounts. You have your balance sheet and profit and loss, and then you tax the profits.
Was that one not
Yes.
suspended by the courts?
No, that's a different thing. Minimum
Oh, it
tax
was
is
minimum,
a different,
not turnover.
yes.
Turnover is
yes.
still applicable.
Turnover is still applicable for small taxpayers, and it's final.
Right.
Yes, so it's not like the minimum tax.
Let me ask this question though. Who determines what, by definition, an SME is?
It's our policymakers, because the law, it's the Finance Act is done by the Treasury and approved by Parliament. So I think it rests with Parliament at the end of the day.
And we still benchmark it on ILO's understanding of what an SME is.
I'm not very competent on that, but
That
I'm
much
sure
I know to be a fact. And they consider that an SME is an organization that employs something like 50 people. If you employ 50 people in this country, my friend, you are not an SME. You're a big company.
But in tax, we use the turnover rather than the number of employed. Because like the turnover tax is targeting the jua kali business. So to according to the law, up to 50 million is more of, a small business. I don't know whether it's a SME or an MSME. Yes, something like that. But it's to help you simplify. Because, we feel if you are a small business with a turnover of 2 million and you want to pay an auditor, you want to try and
Too
do
many
this.
things to do.
Yes, so it
Nixon,
will-
we're coming to the end of this program.
Yes.
We have the Kenya Bureau of Statistics who also tell us that people who fall into the category of what you call middle class in this country earn something like 25,000 shillings. I'm saying there's a disconnect in the way we table and label these things. And so when you then talk about turnover tax and how you want to do it, it may be straightforward and not difficult to understand.
Yes,
But trying to understand something simple amidst fear,
it becomes
you'll
difficult.
mix it up completely.
Nixon, we
But
thank
you know,
very much for
Muga,
coming.
maybe
Yes.
as I pen off, a lot of us also don't take a proactive role in shaping the policy making in our country. When Treasury and Parliament are looking at finance acts, nobody sends their proposals. We wait and say,
Public
no, why did they
participation
bring
doesn't
this?
happen.
Yes, so we should take our role.
Thank you very much. Nixon Omondi is the manager for Digital Economy Tax Office at the Kenya Revenue Authority. He's been with us, our guest this morning. Come again soon. Let's talk about this, and let's also monitor whether more and more people are going to comply and even start paying more taxes. Asante sana.
Karibu.